He said he donated sperm once in college. At our son's first birthday, two teenagers showed up with A23 and printout. Hi, Dad. I handed him the cake knife and said, cut the cake, then cut the lie. I'm 32F. He's 34M. We live in Seattle near the Ballard Locks, in a little craftsman with a cranky tuxedo cat and a baby who thinks 4:45 a.m. is morning. We met in grad school at UW, me in MSW classes, him finishing a master's in biostats. We bonded over bad coffee and worse student housing. His name is Adrian. He's the kind of man who can do a crossword in pen and still forget to move his laundry from the washer to the dryer. I loved him anyway. We married on a gray day that felt like a cliche until we laughed through our vows and ate salmon that had more personality than some of our relatives. We waited to try for kids. Not in the tactical way, life just kept asking us to do other things first. We bought the house. He took a job downtown. I started running a community program near Belltown. Then we looked up at 31 and said, if not now, when? Our son, Theo, arrived last spring, a sturdy 9 pounds with a hairline like a 50-year-old senator. He looked like himself. He also looked like Adrian, right down to the eyebrows that refused to take a day off. He was a delight and a terrorist, and we were dumb in love. Small Seattle sentence, got an almond croissant from Cafe Bisalu and ate it on the curb because the tables were full. Theo stared at a recycling truck like it was a deity. This part matters when we were engaged, talking about whatever you talk about when you think you're reasonable adults. He mentioned casually over faux on Aurora that he had once donated sperm to help families in college. It wasn't a secret. He said he did it a few times when money was tight. He said the clinic was in Portland, where he grew up, which made me picture a brick building with a fern in the lobby. I asked him if that meant somewhere out there were kids with his freckles. He said probably no. He thought it was anonymous. He was some number in a file, and besides, the clinic limits those donations, so it's not like there are dozens. I believed him. And to be fair, I'm not sure if anything would have been different if I hadn't. It lived in the part of my brain with I had braces twice and I broke my arm at camp. Anecdote, not plot. Q23 and me. It's a party trick, our age's parlor game. My mom did it first. Then my aunt. Then at Christmas, Adrian's sister gave everyone kits as a joke. Let's unlock our Neanderthal percentages. We spit in tubes listening to carols. 2 months later, my app pinged me with DNA relatives. I had second cousins. I had people named things like Harper and Luann who messaged hi, cute. Adrian's app pinged too. You have 23 new relatives, it said. He made a face. Weird, he said. People have their settings open. I'll hide the messages so it's not a thing. I didn't push. Theo had a diaper blowout that took priority over genetic curiosity. He started getting emails. Someone wants to chat about DNA connections. He ignored them, then didn't. He muted some, then responded to a couple with a canned line. Hi, could be extended family through the donor bank. No personal info shared. Wishing you well. I glanced over his shoulder once, saw Sibship in a subject line, thought cute name, forgot about it. Then Theo's birthday. We did a backyard thing with Costco sheet cake dressed up with strawberries, a pile of diapers disguised as a castle by my friend who finds joy where I do not, and an overexcited dog from the house next door who is convinced he's part of our family, balloons, paper crowns, grandparents trying to figure out how to use reels, the whole manic joy machine. Kids ran in damp grass, grown-ups pretended to let them. I cut fruit. Adrian grilled hot dogs with a beer in his hand, domestic like a commercial. At 1:30, two teenagers hovered at the gate, maybe 15, 16, one tall with a beanie, one with a messy bun, and a jacket that said Roosevelt High. They looked like they knew the rules and had decided to break them nicely. Can we help you? I asked. Is this Theo's party? Messy Bun asked. We're so sorry to show up. We tried emailing. We're Georgia and Max. Friends of? I was already halfway to the answer and hating it. Of Adrian's, Georgia said, holding up a manila folder like a peace offering. Inside, a printout, 23andMe, a match. We think he's our donor, she said quietly. We're donor conceived. We're not here to make it weird. We just thought if he's open to it, we could say hi. I could feel the world narrow to a dot and then widen again. I'm a social worker. I've sat in rooms where people said the thing they swore they'd never say out loud. I know the shape of it. My hands still went cold. Wait here, I said. I walked over to Adrian and handed him the cake knife like I was swapping out a tool for a man about to do his own surgery. 2 teenagers are here with a 23andMe printout, I said, low. They say they're donor conceived. They think you're the donor. He went gray. He put the knife down on the picket of the grill like he'd forgotten what hands are for. Right now? He asked, like timing was the problem. Right now, I said. Cut the cake, then cut the lie. We sang. Theo tried to put a whole fistful of frosting in his mouth at once. My mom cried. We laughed. We did the stupid smash photo. We put our son in a high chair and handed him paper and a spoon and pretended to be normal for exactly 5 minutes. Then he walked over to the side gate with me. Georgia and Max stood straight like they'd decided, for better or worse, to be brave. Hi, he said, voice too bright. I'm Adrian. Hi, they said in unison, relieved and awkward. Not here, I said gently. But yes. We stepped into the side yard where you can still smell the lilacs. Georgia explained they'd connected with half-siblings on a donor registry, a mix of 23andMe and clinic records from when donors started being open-eyed. Well, we don't want money, she said, quick. We just wanted to put a person to the puzzle. Are there? Max shuffled. Through the registry, last count is 24. That we know of. 24? I repeated, because sometimes you have to make your mouth say it so your ears will believe. Adrian sat down on the step like his knees gave out. He put his head in his hands. He didn't deny. He didn't say the word I was waiting for, anonymous. He said, I thought, I didn't know. The clinic said, he stopped. He looked at me and I saw at the moment his reality catches up. We're not here to blow up your life, Georgia said, eyes earnest. We've had good experiences and bad. We're just putting our family tree together and your branch has a lot of leaves. The party went on around us, human happiness doing what it does even when your insides are on fire. I asked Georgia and Max if they could email us. I gave them my address because I run point when there are emergencies and because this was mine now. They nodded, grateful, and left. I hugged them. I don't know why. They were still kids. They text thank you later. I cried in the bathroom with my hands in the sink like cold water can stop time. After the last balloon died and the recycling was tied up and my mom took home half the potato salad because she can't see food go uneaten without developing a rash, I sat Adrian down at our kitchen table. How many times? I asked. Not twice. He had that face men get when they know the numbers and wish they didn't. It was more, he said quietly. I was broke. The clinic paid a decent stipend. It felt victimless. I was 22. It became a routine. 3 times a week, sometimes 4 for a year and a half. How many families? My voice was flat because if I let tone in, it would be screaming. He shook his head. They said they cap per region. They said it's anonymous. They said I wouldn't be contacted. They were wrong. Or they were, lying in ways they thought didn't matter. I am not naive. I know clinics have changed. I also know reality doesn't care about your cap when people move and spit in tubes for fun. Why didn't you tell me when you started getting messages? I asked. I told you some, he protested weakly. I showed you one. One, I said. There are 23. He looked wrecked. And here's the part where I hate that humans are complicated. I loved him for looking wrecked. It meant he had a conscience. It also meant he had done this while owning one. I'm so sorry, he said. He put his head on the table like a kid sent to the principal. I thought if I ignored it, it would go away. I thought the decent thing was to not insert myself. I thought if anyone reached out after 18, there'd be rules. There are no rules. No rules, I echoed. We both looked at Theo asleep in the monitor, chest rising and falling like a metronome we needed and couldn't listen to. I didn't sleep. He didn't either. We lay on our backs like teenagers, staring at a ceiling, asking 1,000 questions we didn't yet want answers to. The next morning, he had 22 emails in his inbox, and then one from me, a calendar invite titled Talk to the Clinic. We called. The clinic was by appointment only and by lawyer only when they heard donor and open and we're married now. They directed us to their legal department, which sent a PDF that looked like every PDF I've hated. Dense paragraphs about consent forms signed in 2012, a line about changes in industry standards, a paragraph on the best practice of limiting live births per donor by geographical population. 5 sentences in, I wanted to set the paper on fire and eat the ashes for power. I texted my friend Laura, who is a family law attorney. She texted back, come in Monday, bring the contracts, bring your brains. I called my therapist and said, remember how we've been working on boundaries? I need a crash course in boundary triage. Small USA local sentence. Sat on a soggy bench at Gasworks Park while Theo blew spit bubbles and watched a guy juggle. Lake Union smelled like rain and boat gas and my own bad decisions. Here's what shook out in the next 2 weeks. Adrian donated a lot, like someone at the clinic should have been the adult in the room a lot. Policy at the time was a cap on family units per donor per 800,000 population. In real life, with people moving cities, using multiple clinics, and the website clinic merging with another, cap was a wish. He'd been on a list. People had matched via 23andMe and the donor sibling registry. He was id release at adulthood, which is why Georgia and Max, both over 18, felt entitled to reach out. I get that word now. Entitled like a natural right, not like a brat. He'd ignored this reality because ignoring is easier until a teenager shows up with a folder and the exact shape of your husband's nose. There were kids under 18 too. The registry had both parents and donors coordinating with pseudonyms. Some parents wanted their kids to know early. Some didn't. Some kids wanted to know, and their parents didn't. If you think that's not an ethics swamp, you haven't sat in my therapist's office with a whiteboard. We made ground rules. The only way we were going to survive this was with boring, firm, humane plans. 1. Adrian would respond to adult donor. Conceived people with honesty and boundaries. Yes, I was donor X. I'm married with a child. I'm open to limited contact by email. No, I will not be a father figure to you if that's your language. Yes, I will answer medical history questions. Yes, I'm okay with a coffee in a public place if you want to meet one-on-one, no promises past that. 2. We would not contact or interfere with minors. If a parent reached out for info, fine. No secret relationships. No being a clandestine hero in someone else's story. No being dad when the contract and basic decency did not make him dad. 3. We would tell our families, including my parents, his sister, and our closest friends, secrets calcifi. Or we would together decide how to tell Theo when he's older. Because it's his story too, and he has a right to know his genetic half-siblings exist and to choose what he wants to do with that information. 5. We would, if any donor-conceived person wanted to, set up a group Zoom once a quarter where Adrian could answer questions and then log off. No group chats involving our personal numbers, no midnight HEYs, no being on call for the result of a system we didn't control. It wasn't perfect. It was what we had. Updates. Update 1, 1 week after the party, we met Georgia and Max for coffee at Lighthouse. They were funny and poignant and smart and so inoffensive in their approach, I wanted to hug their parents for raising them. They asked for health history. They asked if he loved math. They asked if he hated cilantro. They asked me if this was awful, and I said yes and no. They didn't call him Dad. They called him Adrian. They offered him a picture of themselves as toddlers. He cried a little. I held my croissant like a talisman. One hard moment, Georgia asked if Theo knew about them. He's one, I said, because sometimes you answer the easy thing. But yes, one day. Small Seattle sentence, walked through the Ballard Farmers Market after and bought Rainier cherries because I needed to put something red and sweet in my mouth and feel an uncomplicated yes. Update 2, 3 weeks later, we told our parents. His mom went silent for a full 90 seconds, which is a record various agencies should certify. Then she said, I love you, and I'm mad at that clinic. My mom said, of course you would pick a man whose bodily fluids come with paperwork, then hugged me so hard my spine cracked. Adrian's sister, Mara, went full internet and found the clinic's Yelp where a woman named Jenny A. in 2013 wrote, Be thoughtful, folks, like a prophet with a pixie cut. Mara also volunteered to be the aunt who goes to coffee with donor sibs who want to meet someone who is not a man with their DNA, but is still a person with a heart. I cried again. Stop crying, she said, tearing up. We met with Laura, my attorney friend. She said something that has anchored me. There are ethics, and there are laws. They are cousins, not twins. Do the ethics even where the laws are useless. Legally, donors have no parental rights or obligations. The contracts were airtight. Ethically, if a 19-year-old wants to know if your family has a history of colon cancer, you answer the email. Update 3, 2 months later, the donor sibling group chat on the registry, not my phone, decided to do a picnic at Magnuson Park. Adults only, by request. We debated and then said yes because not showing up felt worse. 15 people came. A few looked like Adrian enough to make me swallow hard. A couple looked nothing like him. This is how genetics works. Chaotic, beautiful, rude. They brought pasta salad and questions. What were you thinking? A guy named Sam asked, not cruel. Adrian said, rent and naivete. A woman named Priya said, thank you for filling out the updated health forms. My mom had been trying to reach the clinic. I felt both deeply intrusive and deeply included. After a few of them came to Theo's park bench and watched him try to eat a pine cone. He's cute, Georgia said, because she is a human. He has your wife's mouth, Max added, because he is kind. We're building something that is not family, not family. Date 4, 3 months later, a complication I wish wasn't a complication. One of the donor-conceived men, 21, texted Adrian late one night, something like, I've always wanted a dad. Boundary alarm. Adrian wrote back the truth, I'm not your dad. I'm your donor. I care about you as a person. I cannot fill that role. I hope you have men in your life who can. He didn't respond. 2 days later, he sent a photo of his cat with the caption, You like cats? We breathed again. Humans reroute. Sometimes they reroute well. Another one, 18, messaged me directly. My email is public for work. I need to get better at boundaries. Is your husband as good as his profile makes him seem? I wrote back some version of, he is a good man who made choices at 22 that impact all of us. He's trying to be better. He's not your father. He is a data point. I hope you find what you're looking for. Update 5, 6 months later, we had a fight. Not quietly, not elegant. Theo was cutting 2 molars at once and doing it like a martyr. Adrian had 5 emails from new matches he hadn't responded to, and I found the tab open like a ghost. I felt like the truth was going to rot behind the walls if we didn't get it out. "You have to answer," I said. "You can't just pretend this isn't real." He snapped, "I'm tired." And there it was, the thing I felt but haven't named. "I didn't sign up to be on call for this either," I said. "I didn't sign up to share you, and here we are." He apologized. He answered them. I watched him do it, not like a cop, like a partner in the business we didn't think we had built. It felt marital in the least romantic sense of the word. Small local sentence: took Theo to the Fremont Sunday Market and bought him a tiny knit hat with bare ears. He ripped it off immediately. A vendor laughed. I felt less alone. Update 6. 8 months later, Theo got RSV, and for a week we were a hospital in a house. No donor sib stuff. No ethics. Just breathing and sitting upright and slapping our cheeks to stay awake. It was a relief to have a problem that made sense even as it terrified us. He's okay. When he drank his first full bottle again, I cried and told everyone on my group chat like I'd run a marathon. After RSV, Adrian said he needed a break from meetings. I said okay. Georgia texted me to check in, not as a donor. Sib, just as a person, asked if I wanted to go for a walk. We did. We looked at ducks. I asked if this was hard on her mom. She said yes and no. Her moms are a lesbian couple who picked open ID donor because they wanted to leave the door cracked. They didn't think 20, she said. I don't think anyone does. Update 7, 10 months later, a donor sib posted in the group, "Got engaged," like a normal human would. One posted, "Passed the bar." Another posted a photo of himself with a guitar at a bar in Pioneer Square. It felt briefly like Facebook before it got poisoned. Just humans living. One of them, I won't name, asked Adrian if he could be a sperm donor for his own couple's friends who needed someone. Boundary time? No, he said. I will never again. And also, I hope your friends go through a clinic that honors everyone involved. We had dinner with my friend Laura and her wife. They asked how we're doing, and I said slightly less on fire. Adrian said he was weirdly grateful the truth is out. I don't have to categorize emails into destroy life later anymore, he said, dark. We laughed because we live here now. Update 8. 1 year later, Theo turned 2. We did a small park party, blueberries in cups, a train-shaped cake because I hate myself. Georgia and Max stopped by with a present and left after 20 minutes because they are boundary savants now, and I love them for it. Adrian made a toast I wrote for him because he wanted the words right: to the people who came through a door we didn't know we had, to the people who live here, to the people we haven't met yet we'll be kind to when we do, to Theo, who is an actual locomotive. We told our parents we're going to do a kid-friendly donor picnic next summer if people want to. My dad made a face like, I like grilling. My mom nodded gravely like I had announced a peace treaty and then asked what salad I wanted her to bring. A wrench, a donor-conceived girl, 17, messaged via her mom and asked if she could meet Adrian at a coffee shop with her mom present. We said yes. It was awkward. It was sweet. She asked him what sports he liked. He said kayaking like a liar. She asked me what I do for work. I told her. She asked how Theo sleeps. We told her medium. I watched her eyes on Adrian's hands and thought, not father, but a piece. She hugged him. He asked if it was okay. She nodded. We went home, and I cried in the shower while Theo tried to eat the bar of soap. Update 9. 18 months later, therapy has been the quiet hero. We spent 4 sessions on the sentence, I am not special to him in the way I thought I was, which is an ugly knowledge to have about your husband, and not entirely accurate, but also not entirely wrong. He spent 4 sessions on the sentence, I made a decision about my genetics like it was a $40 DoorDash, and now everyone knows my order. We've learned to hold at the same time that he did something at 22 with a clinic that was legal and maybe generous and also sloppy and also profitable for them and also a mess for us. That our son is not less ours because there are 24 others who share his half of the code, that the kids don't owe us gratitude, that we don't owe them fatherhood, that if we're kind and firm, we can build something between family and strangers. We had a mostly good year, which feels like tempting fate to say. We fight about dishes, not donors, some weeks. We plan for daycare. We sleep sometimes. We watch the Great British Bake Off when the world feels like it will tip. We are boring in a way I worship now. One last thing, because Reddit loves a gesture, we wrote a letter to the clinic. Not a lawsuit, a letter. It said, "We're not mad you exist. We're mad your policies make this kind of shock possible. You need to stop selling anonymity like it's protection. It's delay. You need to educate 22-year-olds like you're talking to a human, not an ATM with arms. You owe parents real caps, not theoretical. You owe donor-conceived people a robust registry. You owe your conscience some curtain time." They wrote back a letter that said, "We're updating procedures." I don't believe them. I also don't not. Change is slow. It doesn't ask for our approval. Small USA local sentence. Stood in line at Dick's Drive-In at 10 p.m., got a shake and fries, watched teenagers flirt in a way that made me feel ancient and tender, and didn't think about genetics for 3 whole minutes. Final update, 2 years after the party. If you're in this mess, there's probably not a right answer. Donors who never talk to anyone, okay. Donors who become uncle, okay, if everyone consents. Parents who hide, please don't. Parents who vomit the truth, please be tender when you do. Donor-conceived people who are angry, of course you are. Donor-conceived people who feel nothing, also fine. For us, here's where we landed. Adrian treats donor-conceived adults like extended kin you're not obligated to see, but happy to wave at across a farmer's market. He answers health questions. He has coffee twice a year. He does the Zoom Q&A quarterly. He gets to say no. They get to say, "You're disappointing," and we sit with that like grown-ups. Theo will grow up with this as air, not as a revelation. We practice our story on stuffed animals. Some kids have 2 moms, some have 2 dads, some have 1, some have 3 grandparents. You have a lot of people who share some of your science. We'll tell you if you want to know. He's 2. He says, "Choo-choo." We have time. We also don't. We decided not to have a second child via clinical help if we need it, because adding irony to this situation would make something inside me break. If we have another, great. If not, we are okay. Contentment is a muscle. My marriage? We're okay. We're different. He is held to a higher standard I didn't know I had, because trust was a casualty of something he didn't do to me, strictly speaking, but did to us. He shows up. He tells me when someone emails. He tells me when he's overwhelmed. We hold each other's hands at 4:45 a.m. and say, "We chose this, and then we didn't choose some of this, and let both be true." If you're reading this with a baby on your lap and a teenager at your gate, I'm sorry. Here's what I know. Put bottled water on the porch and take people for coffee one at a time. Write down your rules before you need them. Find someone who doesn't need anything from you and tell them the messy version. Reply to emails you can answer. Ignore ones you can't. Forgive your 22-year-old husband in installments if you can, and leave if you can't. Remember that the kids didn't do this and deserve your kindness. Remember you're allowed to laughter children. You're allowed to. But we go up and well, I do also our bride when our friend is or for Jesus or is the kind of get instance. If you're like utterly or mad, remember you're allowed to. Kids didn't deserve your kindness. Remember you're allowed to. The water, eat the cherries, breathe into the idea that family is sometimes a verb, not a noun. Small local sentence. Walked across the Ballard Locks, watched salmon be salmon, and for a full minute the only thing I thought about was how everyone is just trying to swim upstream without dying, and it made me feel less alone.